disability podcast. I love when I get to interview couples and hear their story and how you make your relationship work.
Yeah.
Let's begin with you, Tina. You mentioned that dating felt isolating before meeting Tyler because I read the article published on you in April. Could you share a little more about your experiences navigating the dating world as someone with muscular dystrophy and how dateability changed that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so yeah, dating obviously in a wheelchair is can be difficult. A lot of people look at it as something different that they're not used to and not, ready to approach that subject or kind of, ask, good questions. So going on dating sites was not always great. I put myself out there. But you got, those weird questions that people would ask you, and not really kind of good talking points or, going into more bigger conversations or anything like that. It would just kind of stop at a hi, how are you? Or like, why are you in a wheelchair? So it wasn't anything, that I was fully interested in, pursuing or trying to do with that. And most dating sites, and even, when I was younger, going out to bars, it was not anybody was really kind of looking to interact with me of that kind of, dating aspect of it. So, um, going on a website like Dateability is, what you're getting into and what, is going to be on there. That people do have disabilities and it's not something you have to try and figure out how to hide it on your profile or try and like, put pictures up that don't look like you're in a wheelchair or fully commit to it and be like, yes, I am in a wheelchair and, it's there and that's who I am. So, going on that site definitely, obviously changed things for me, obviously. Met Tyler. So, yeah, it was a much better experience for me going on a dating site like that.
Okay. And how long have you two been together?
It's
Just
been
over,
just, yep.
How long?
Good.
just over a year.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Great.
Mhm.
And Tyler, what made you decide to try dateability? And
Well, yeah, well, I was back in the market, so to speak, and the apps were really like they're really frustrating. And I got like an Apple News alert on my phone, and it was a HuffPost article, I think, about dateability, and I figured as somebody who, whenever I'm filling a job application, I always have to check that box about, uh, you know, identify as somebody with a disability because I have epilepsy, among other things. Um, I just kind of figured, what the hell? Um, and was a little like adjustment because I don't know if the app has been upgraded since we used it, but it was very like there weren't a lot of people on it, and it was really tough to find people. But obviously, I found the right person,
right.
uh, and we hit it off and went from there.
And dateability is actually coming out with a brand new upgrade app. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, we wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Once you meet your person, you no longer need the dating app.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I want both of you to answer this. How would you say having your personal experience with disabilities how has it shaped your relationship and your understanding of each other?
I'll let you go first, Tyler.
I mean, you know, for me, my challenges are basically limited to uh not being able to drink a lot. So often, like when we come up with like places to go, uh, we usually choose not to go to bars or things like that. We'll go like traveling or whatever. Um, uh, how about you, Tina?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's more of a challenge, not for me to trust somebody to help me, but like obviously somebody that I don't know very well at first. I have people that help me on a daily basis do, our daily life skills of, helping me go to the bathroom, helping me, get up out of bed, that kind of thing. Um, that was something that I had to definitely be able to trust somebody to be able to do. Especially like you said, we have traveled a couple of different places together, so that's something that I've like definitely let myself be able to be like, okay, I gotta trust him. So, I did, and it's worked out so far. He hasn't let me down so far.
Well, there was the one time I kind of dropped you, but
You did, but you picked me back
Uh-oh.
up, so it was fine. It was fine. The challenges of learning how to, navigate disabilities and, helping somebody in a wheelchair of he's done a great job of it. Most guys wouldn't necessarily put the effort and the work into it. So he definitely has.
Let me actually back up. When you two met in rabbit years
yeah.
on Dateability and began talking, and then you tell us about meeting each other in your first date.
Yeah, yeah. We our first date was at her favorite one of her favorite sushi places up in Lancaster. And we could have talked for hours. Yeah, it was like I know I was cognizant that I knew that whenever she was meeting somebody, uh there were certain questions that she was probably asked a bazillion times. I tried to uh, put those sorts of questions a little like further down the list because obviously she is more than any of that. I wanted to know more about like her beyond just her disability.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, he made sure that because he was the one that initiated it, he wanted to, go out to dinner and he, picked the place and made sure that it was accessible. And the first place we had actually picked in Harrisburg was not open when we decided to go. So I was like, well, I do know another sushi place that is my favorite. So he was more than willing to change plans and go to that one. So yeah, he definitely has made sure that he's looking out and making sure that I have, the things that I need and being accessible and all of that for our first date. So it was very nice. And yeah, we could have talked for way longer than we did, but then we obviously went out on a second date and kept going out.
Accessibility is important, or else it would have been a pretty short date.
It would have, yeah.
Right. Now, how long had you been communicating before that first date?
I forget.
I was like, it probably wasn't more than,
More than not more than a week or two.
yeah, probably a week or two, maybe not more than a month for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
So, hmm
so, so pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how frequently did you communicate in that first month leading up to meeting each other?
Pretty much every day we really talk,
Yeah,
I would
and
say.
never stopped.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
pretty much do that every day.
Morning
Still
text
do.
thing.
Now, the article, that said you were featuring people,
Mhm.
which I'll link the article in the show notes. But the article mentions you bonded over food and movies, which, like, who does not love food and movies? But what other shared interests have you discovered, and how have those commonalities strengthened your relationship?
Mario Party.
He tries to beat me at it every time. He normally succeeds, but I still throw things at him.
Not like literally, just in the
Not
game.
literally in the game. I mean, I would say, we've definitely bonded over like traveling. We try to travel as much as we can. Music, we go to concerts. We've been gone to a show. We'll be going to another show, I think in July it is,
Yeah, yeah.
together. So yeah, and I think that's just I think in a relationship you need to have things that you share and you also have things that you do separately. So we definitely have things that we share. We both have things that we do on our own as well, and I think that makes it work pretty well.
And you two are long distance.
Hmm.
How many hours apart are you?
About an hour and a change, around an hour and change. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, not okay.
Not
I
too
thought
far.
it would
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
I live in a suburb north of Baltimore, and she lives in Lancaster.
Okay,
Harrisburg.
okay. So you, Tyler, you travel
Mhm.
mainly to see Christina, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes we kind of meet halfway, but yeah, usually that's what it is. I drive up to see her.
Yep. Yeah, I'll drive
And
up my
Yeah, or there have been times where she gets on the train and it and excuse me, let's say Lancaster, I meant Harrisburg. Times she gets on the train in Harrisburg and I get on the train in Baltimore. We meet in Philly. Like that's what we did when we went to uh New York back in December. We actually, because hotels were crazy in New York, we ended up staying
but
in Philly and taking basically a day trip to New York to see a show. And that was a whirlwind.
it was.
yeah, in Philly, it's a great town. I love to
Yeah.
Yeah.
things in Philly.
Mhm.
How would you say you manage the long distance element? And do you see each other every weekend?
Not every weekend because sometimes you know one of us is indisposed or something. Um but we do keep in touch, through text and what have you all the time. I never feel like I'm distant from her.
Yeah, I was like, we pretty much in the morning we're waking up and texting, when we get up in the morning and by the time we go to bed, saying good night. But yeah, I mean we try as much as we can to see each other on the weekends, but just sometimes, like you said, we're either, I live with a roommate who helps me and sometimes she has to go away for work, so I'll go to my sister's in the DC area. So won't necessarily like get to see him on the weekend or like we each
Right.
have things that we have to sometimes do on the weekend. But we try our best as many weekends as we can that he gets up here. If we, go on a weekend trip or something, like you said, I'll take the train to Philly and he will too, and we'll meet up there and, have just like a weekend there if we can.
So the distance ever bother either of you?
No.
No, mm-mm, no, we make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. I mean, would we like to be closer to each other? Would I like him closer? Absolutely. But, we make it work and we do what we can with it. It's working.
Great, Right. So also in the article, you mentioned, that Tyler makes you feel like you can complete yourself. Can you elaborate on how this relationship differs from other experiences and what being your complete self means to you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's definitely, I mean, before Tyler, just going out on dates, I always felt like I had to, you know, try not to, it sounds funny, but try not to look or like act like I'm fully disabled. But with Tyler, I can have a bad day and it's fine. Like I can be like, I feel like crap, and this is, where I'm at. Recently I've had a couple of just medical issues that I'm working through, and he's always there for me, and asking me how, what can I do? How can I help you? That kind of thing. And it's not a big deal of if I have a crappy day, if he's coming up on a weekend, I can just be like, I don't feel great, but I still want you here.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm not necessarily going to be able to do as many things, or like we might just kind of chill at the house and not do anything just because I'm not up to it right now. But that I'm not concerned about telling him that because he's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I just want to be like around you. So that works for me. So that is I think the main difference for me with Tyler is that I can also be my weird self and not have him care what I do or the weird things that I do. So, I mean, he can tell you that I'm a weirdo. So, he's okay with it, I guess. He's been around for this long.
Well, I think ultimately that's what we're all looking for is people who can accept those quirky, unique accidents that make us who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What advice would you give other people with disabilities who may be feeling discouraged about dating and relationships?
You want to take that first, Tyler?
I don't know.
I was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think it takes time. Like it does. It's not something that, even in a quote unquote normal dating world of even if you don't have a disability, it takes time. You got to find that right person. You got to be able to, I would say, put your full self out there of who you are and not try and hide anything just because that's not going to work for you in the end. It's something that you need to be who you are and put it out there all, you know, for everybody to see so that you can find that other person that is also like that. And somebody that's going to love you the way that you want to be loved. So I think
Yeah.
that's my main advice.
Yeah. The right person will accept you for all that you are.
Mm,
Right, right.
yeah.
I work a lot because I have a coaching community where I work with other people who want to date.
Mm.
And a common theme that comes up is handling rejection. Can both of you share what would be your advice of how you got through previous rejection?
So for me, I would say I probably before Tyler, I definitely was a person that had my walls up pretty hard.
Mm,
So I kind of, not that I expected rejection, but it was probably I knew that it was there and that I was ready to accept that just because I knew my own situation of, having a disability and having it be hard for other people to accept that and, work through that themselves. Um, so I would say rejection for me at that point wasn't like super hard because a lot of times it was just like maybe one or two dates and then they would go away. So that for me wasn't really that hard. I didn't get super connected or super, attached to anything. So I would say that for me, but that's just personally. Tyler, I don't know about you. What about you?
Um, like, hmm, I think the important thing is to not like take it too personally or get it too inside your head about, you know, what you did on the date or something like that. And just try to put it behind you best you can.
Mm. I think that's really good advice from both of you. And what I hear both of you saying is not taking it personally and not making it mean something about you.
Yeah.
Was there ever times when either of you wanted to give up on dating?
Hmm.
I mean, there were times in my life where I was just like, no, whatever, I'll leave it up to whatever. I wasn't always on dating apps or anything like that. Um, so I'd go on and off of them, so it wasn't anything that I was always trying to pursue getting in a relationship. Um, I think the older I got, the more I realized, it'll happen when it happens, and you can't force that kind of thing. Because if you do, you're not going to end in a relationship that you really want if you're trying to force it to happen.
Mm.
Um, so that's just as I've gotten older, I just think I've learned from other people's, situations that I've seen or relationships that I've seen, that you need to let it happen kind of naturally and not force things.
I think there are times that I almost got off the apps because they're just bad for your mental health. Uh,
Mm.
but then right after I I found Tina.
Right, right, right. And they often say to be okay, if you need to take a break, but don't give up because you don't know what is coming your way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that yeah, no, then it wasn't that I was not open to it. It was just more I didn't try as hard to, look for that. It wasn't that if I saw somebody on public, I'd, sure, whatever. If we would have hit it off, whatever, that would have been fine. But yeah, it was more so, being on and off the dating apps that I tried here and there. I don't know that I ever actually paid for a dating app because I always just used to say I don't want to pay for the abuse
I
that you get on those sometimes.
I
So
never heard that. I like
mhm,
that.
I just don't want to pay for the abuse. So that was always my rule of thumb of I'll just go on the free dating apps. It's fine.
And look at what happened.
And it worked. It worked for me.
Um, we're coming to the end of the interview, but what I would like to know from both of you is looking to the future, what are you both most excited about in your relationship? And how has finding each other change your perspective on love and relationship?
Like, you want me to go first or you want to go first?
That's a tough one. You go first.
That's a tough one. Um, so it's probably, let's see. I was like, I might have you repeat that first part because now I forget what you said in the
I
first part.
know I'm being unfair giving you a two-part
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what are you most to say it about with your relationship looking
No.
forward?
I mean, moving forward, and we're always learning something new about each other, so it's always fun.
Yeah, yeah.
As we go along, and even after even dating for a full year, still learning some new things, but also continuing to do things together. So like traveling together, going to concerts, that kind of thing. Just being able to spend time with each other as much as we can, especially since we are long distance. So getting to do some of those things, and he's met my family. I've met his family. So doing some more of that probably. Um, and then what was the second part of the question? Forget what the
How has being with each other changed your perspective on dating, love, relationship?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's definitely I've probably opened up probably more to him than I have really anybody that I've ever either like dated or, gone out on dates with, just because feel comfortable with him, and he makes me feel loved, so that I don't, not judged by anything that might come out of my mouth, because crazy things sometimes just come out of my mouth, as he will tell you. So it's just, made it that I'm not afraid that he's going to just run away all of a sudden, like not, be here because of any medical issue that I have or anything like that. So it's definitely changed for me.
How about you, Tyler?
Can you repeat the second part of the question?
How has being in relationship with Tina changed your perspective of love?
I think I think in the past, I think I was like looking for people who were into a lot of the same things as me, thinking that that would make it easier to form a connection. But it's okay that we're into, like, it's like an opportunity to learn something every single day, and I just look forward to whatever the future holds.
Yeah. I was like, we don't always like the same kind of music, but not that we don't like the same kind of music. We just don't, listen to the same kind of music, but we're both open and willing to listen to that music or go to concerts with each other, like that kind of thing. So it's not that we always, like I said, have everything in common with each other, but I think that's kind of the fun part of it is that, you get to learn something new too and get to explore different things that you might not have done just because it's not something that you're into.
Right. And if you're with a person who is just like you, that can get pretty boring quick.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and so we wrap up. What is the one sentence piece of advice you would give someone dating with a disability?
Mm. I would probably say, as I've, been talking about, just be yourself and be open to different, opportunities or, things that you might not have thought about before. Um, kind of that would be my growing older, that would be probably in my advice, just be open to, different things.
How about you, Tyler?
Um, I would say just you kind of like I said, never like your person is out there, and you might find them in the unlikeliest of places.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, we never know. Oh my gosh, I think you guys are a great couple.
Thank
And
you.
I love talking to you. And I just know so many people will be encouraged by this conversation.
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your path and how it came to be, and hopefully giving encouragement to other people.
Well, thank you for having
Yeah.
us. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
Bye.
let me